I do want to start tonight with something I think is an important baseline for basically everything we're going to talk about. And that is why Donald Trump thinks he won the election.
I went on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
So Donald Trump saying he won the election based on bringing prices down, and maybe he did. But during his first week in office, a period of time where I can tell you presidents typically use their power to make clear what their priorities are and do something about it, he was focused on anything but lowering costs.
Late tonight, President Trump announcing he will issue pardons for the January 6 rioters.
Trump reversing Biden-era immigration policies and declaring a national emergency at the border, where he vowed to send troops.
At least 22 states are already suing over Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants.
President Trump announcing more dramatic changes tonight, including ending federal government diversity, equity, and inclusion programs.
Friday night massacre. The president firing inspectors general at key government agencies. What happens now that the roles meant to stop waste and abuse are gone?
That's right. Trump had time for all of that. I mean, he pardoned the January 6 rioters, including the ones who brutally attacked police. He even freed convicted seditionists like Stewart Rhodes, who directed his far-right Oath Keepers militia in formation up the Capitol steps during the insurrection. And on Saturday, just days after leaving jail, Rhodes appeared at Donald Trump's rally in Las Vegas, standing right behind the president and Vice President J.D. Vance. That wasn't by accident, by the way. Trump has also declared war on migrants, trying to end the Constitution's guarantee of birthright citizenship with an order that's already being challenged in court. He's also pushing a series of made-for-TV deportation raids across the country, is the best way to describe them, promoted by allies like television's Dr. Phil, I can't make it up, who embedded with ICE for a sweep in Chicago. The TV optics are not a coincidence. I mean, according to CNN, at least 2 agencies assisting U.S. immigration officials with the sweeps have told personnel to ensure their clothing clearly depicts their respective agencies in case they are filmed by journalists. Dress appropriately for your immigration raids, I suppose, is what they're saying. Now, on Friday, Trump also fired 18 government watchdogs in a late-night purge, and he's made time for trolling the world with plans for expansion, of course. I mean, from taking control of Greenland and the Panama Canal to threatening to annex Canada still and attempting to rename the Gulf of Mexico. And tonight, Trump was expected to sign more executive orders to purge transgender service members while reinstating military members who were discharged for refusing the COVID vaccine. So that's how week 1 has gone. And it's all classic Trump. This has always been the strategy, to overwhelm the media and critics with far-right noise, lots of it. I mean, Trump ally Steve Bannon laid it out very clearly all the way back in 2020.
I said, all we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with 3 things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang. These guys will never be able to recover.
4 years later, that's still the strategy. And guess what? Bannon says it's going great. He told the Washington Post, quote, "It's working. It's just stunning to me what they're doing. And it's not getting covered because it's too much. They're overwhelming the system." So yeah, they're going to keep flooding the zone. They're literally telling us that they're going to do that. They'll do a million crazy things, so we can't focus on any one thing, like whether they are delivering on the core promise they made about lowering costs. But the problem with flooding the zone for them is it makes it kind of hard to answer really simple questions about your agenda, like this.
You campaigned on lowering prices for consumers. We've seen all of these executive orders. Which one lowers prices?
We have done a lot, and there have been a number of executive orders that have caused already jobs to start coming back into our country, which is a core part of lowering prices. More capital investment, more job creation in our economy is one of the things that's going to drive down prices for all consumers, but also raise wages so that people can afford to buy the things that they need. If you look at our slate of executive orders, no, Margaret, prices are going to come down, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right?
Relax, everyone. It's just going to take a little bit of time. That's pretty weak tea, at least from how I hear it from the sitting vice president, for what is supposed to be their #1 agenda item. And just to put it all in a little perspective, I mean, Barack Obama campaigned on ending the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And it took some time, but in his first week of office, that's pretty much what he focused on in every use of power and lever he had. Joe Biden vowed to end the pandemic and bring back the economy from the brink. He spent his first week in office trying to move that agenda forward and telling the country how he was going to do it. Meanwhile, the guy who promised to lower costs for the American people is busy flooding the zone with all sorts of things, as I just outlined, and hosting House Republicans at his golf resort to discuss how they can cut taxes for rich people. Look, what Trump's actions over the past 7 days have told us is that he really doesn't actually care why Americans sent him to the White House. I hate to break this to all of you. You all know this. In a new letter to Trump that was shared with NBC News, 20 Hill Democrats, led by Senator Elizabeth Warren, blasted the president for his twisted priorities, saying, quote, "During your campaign, you repeatedly promised you would lower food prices immediately if elected president. But during your first week of office, you have instead focused on mass deportations and pardoning January 6th attackers." To be fair, the White House is still working on those tariffs they're very excited about, which every economist will tell you will actually raise prices for everyone. And they're still working on those tax cuts to corporations and billionaires who definitely are not worried about the price of your eggs, I promise you. But hey, at least violent rioters are back on the street. He had time for that. Dr. Phil is in Chicago, embedded in a raid, and government watchdogs have been fired. That's the first week. Joining me now is Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. It's great to see you. You have written a lot of letters. I can't wait to see more letters. And there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I just wanted to talk about what I just laid out, which is this litany of things that Trump focused on last week. You wrote a letter with 20 Senate Democrats, today, and you noted in that letter there are a lot of things he can do. I mean, he can increase competition. He can deal with price gouging, things that will actually lower costs for people. Makes sense. Sounds great to me. Right. Wish he would do it, and probably everybody watching. But I doubt he will do any of that. Do you have any hope he will do it?
So, look, either he will do it, which is really good for the American people. There are a lot of folks who are struggling to make it to the end of the month. Prices are going up. Price of eggs. $3.65 last November. The latest I've seen is $4.25. So there's a lot he could do. I hope he does it. But if he doesn't, then it is our job to hold him accountable. And right now, it's about focus. You know, it's just, you got one of the words quoted in there. He kept using the words immediately. I will do this immediately when he ran. He said on day one. And it's not only that he hasn't moved the needle, it's that he hasn't even indicated he knows where the needle is or cares very much. And I think that's the part we have to keep bearing down on. His failure to even try to move in the direction of lowering costs is a betrayal of the American people. I
think this is such an important point. He has not used the bully pulpit. He has not used any opportunity to lay out a plan, to speak to it. That should be sticking out to people as well. There was an IG purge on Friday night. And 18 IGs were fired, which is such a significant step. It makes it their accountability. They keep Democrats in control. They keep Republicans. They are not a partisan entity. You posted that Donald Trump is, quote, dismantling checks on his power and paving the way for widespread corruption. I took that to mean he's going to put his people in place and they're not going to hold to account government like they should. But what did you mean by that?
So it's exactly that. Look, the IGs, can I say this, are really kind of the most boring people on earth. And I mean that in a good way.
We love nerds here.
I do.
Boring
totally
is good.
Into nerd. Because the whole point is they just make sure you follow the rules. They make sure that when you negotiate a government contract to give away $1 billion, say, of taxpayer money, that you didn't give it to the guy you went to junior high with or one of your big campaign donors. They make sure that everybody in government just kind of stays on the straight and narrow and follows through on the laws that Congress passed and a president somewhere signed into law. You send those guys home, and now you've got these giant agencies with a lot of power. They just do what they want to do. And that signals to me not just his revenge tour that he's on, it signals to me the direction he wants to go. And that is lawlessness throughout the government. Do whatever Donald Trump wants and whatever Donald Trump's donors want and whatever Donald Trump's friends who are whispering in his ear want. And to hell with what the laws say. We got to put a stop to this one.